on this side of the House, like punitive deportations for women who have dared to go on hunger strike.
The Minister said the letter was part of Home Office guidance and had been published online in November.
Nobody wants detainees to be at any risk, but it is important that they should not regard that as a route to prevent removal from this country. As I said very clearly in my opening statement, ensuring that individuals abide by immigration rules is an essential part of our immigration system.
Mr Speaker, the large-scale routine detention of thousands of human beings in private prisons for an indeterminate period simply at the discretion of immigration officers is frankly a stain on our democracy and an affront to the rule of law. This most recent horrible episode in a detention facility is far from the first, as honourable members know, and it will not be the last unless there is radical change. Why does the UK detain more than other European countries? Why can every other EU country manage with a time limit on immigration detention, but not the UK? Why does the government continue to detain vulnerable people, including victims of torture, to the serious detriment of their health and well-being? It is time for radical reform of the UK immigration detention regime, and it is time for a limit.
The Minister said all cases were considered on a case-by-case basis, and welfare was absolutely at the forefront. You're watching Tuesday in Parliament with me, Alicia McCarthy. After the Prime Minister and Chancellor both faced questions about the UK's departure from the EU at the start of the week, it was the turn of the Brexit Secretary. The European Scrutiny Committee was lively from very early on. David Davis wasn't keen to answer a question from Labour's Geraint Davis about whether the UK would stay in the EU if Parliament voted down the final Brexit deal in what's called a meaningful vote.
With respect, Mr Chairman, that's been dealt with at length at the dispatch box and made very plain what the meaningful vote means. I don't want to retrack over that.
No, but will the meaningful vote be 3 months?
No, I recommend you go back to both my comments.
We are at liberty to ask
when he was a minister, your colleague on the committee's comments on this matter, they're all in Hansard.
Well, will the meaningful vote be within 3 months of exit day?
We need to move on.
I think we have a right, Chair, to ask these
you're asking questions. You've asked them.
No, well, there's no answer with respect. I mean, will there be an opportunity to suspend Article 50 in the event that, there isn't time to have a meaningful vote as negotiations?
A meaningful vote, I don't view a meaningful vote as overruling the referendum, if that's what you mean.
Another Labour MP said the aerospace firm Airbus needed clarity on a customs arrangement post-Brexit before it considers leaving the UK, putting thousands of British jobs at risk. David Davis said he'd spoken to the company's chief executive.
I think from their point of view, moving wings from North Wales, moving other components backwards and forwards, I did not foresee that them to have a major problem there. And that's what I talked through with their chief executive.
With respect, they wouldn't have said that they had a problem if they didn't have a problem. I appreciate...
All I can tell you, Mr Jones, is what they said to me.
If I could finish my point, I appreciate you may not be able to say publicly what's happening in negotiations, but this would be devastating for the British economy and for the region of the South West. So could I ask...
If what happens? If
Airbus reconsiders its position in the UK.
Yeah.
So could I ask that even in the private conversations with Airbus, if you could provide the clarity they need to protect those jobs, I'd be very grateful.
Well, as I said, I had a conversation with the chief executive.
They're still not happy. So I'd suggest you have further conversations. Thank you, Chair.
You should talk to him.
Obviously, no parliament can bind a future parliament. So we are already hemorrhaging EU nationals. 19% of EU doctors are in the process of leaving, etc. So a lot of what we need to do is to give them surety. So how do we